If you're planning a new garage with significant electrical demands, such as those from a 175 amps TIG welder, you'll likely need a separate electrical service. Your existing 100 amp service might be adequate for your house, but a garage with welding equipment requires a substantial power upgrade, and the utility company will establish a new point of attachment from the street to your garage. Contact your power company to discuss your needs and to receive a detailed cost estimate. The cost of a new electrical service can vary widely based on several factors. These include the distance from the street to your garage, whether the installation is underground or overhead, and local regulations. Be sure to obtain a firm quote from the power company before proceeding. Underground installation is typically more expensive than overhead installation, but it offers advantages such as being less visible and less susceptible to weather damage. The power company often prefers underground services for residential properties. To establish a separate service, you'll generally follow these steps. Firstly, contact the power company and explain your requirements, emphasizing the need for a 200 amp service to accommodate welding equipment. Secondly, provide them with the exact address and location of your property, clearly indicating where the new service is needed. Thirdly, schedule an appointment for a site inspection. This allows the power company to assess the specific conditions and requirements of your property. Fourthly, after the site inspection, you will receive a detailed quote for the installation cost. Review this quote carefully to understand all associated expenses. Fifthly, if you approve the quote, schedule the installation with the power company. Once the new service is in place, you can proceed with the electrical installation inside your garage. While you're comfortable installing the panel and related outlets, it's crucial to hire a qualified electrician for this work. An electrician ensures that the installation meets all safety codes and regulations and can handle the high current demands of welding equipment safely. When planning the electrical layout in your garage, consider the placement of your welding equipment and other power tools. Ensure that you have an adequate number of outlets of the appropriate voltage and amperage to meet your needs. It's also a good idea to install dedicated circuits for high-power equipment such as your welder to prevent overloading circuits. Remember to consult the National Electrical Code (NEC) for guidance on electrical installations. The NEC provides detailed requirements for wiring, grounding, and overcurrent protection. Pay particular attention to Article 630 of the NEC, which covers welding equipment. This article provides specific requirements for the installation of welding machines, including conductor sizing, overcurrent protection, and grounding. For example, the NEC requires that the conductor supplying a welder be sized no smaller than the ampacity required by the welder's nameplate. The overcurrent protection must also be sized appropriately to protect the conductors and the welding machine. Grounding is essential for safety. Ensure that the welding machine and all electrical equipment in your garage are properly grounded to prevent electric shock. The NEC provides detailed requirements for grounding, including the use of grounding electrodes and equipment grounding conductors. Consider the demand factor for your welding equipment. The demand factor is the percentage of the total connected load that is expected to be in use at any given time. Welding equipment typically has a relatively low demand factor because it is not used continuously. Consult the NEC for guidance on calculating the demand factor for welding equipment. When selecting an electrical panel for your garage, choose one that is adequately sized for your current and future needs. It's generally better to have a panel that is slightly oversized than one that is undersized. This will provide you with flexibility for future expansion. Ensure that the electrical panel is installed in a location that is easily accessible and protected from damage. The NEC provides requirements for the location and installation of electrical panels. Consider using arc fault circuit interrupters of size and ground fault circuit interrupters (GFCIs) in your garage to provide additional protection against electrical hazards. ASIs protect against arc faults, which can cause fires, while GFCIs protect against ground faults, which can cause electric shock. The NEC requires the use of ASIs in certain locations such as bedrooms and GFCIs in wet locations such as bathrooms and kitchens. While GFCIs are not generally required in garages, They are a good idea, especially if you will be working with water or in damp conditions. Plan for adequate lighting in your garage. Good lighting is essential for safety and productivity. Consider using a combination of general lighting and task lighting to provide adequate illumination for all areas of your garage. LED lighting is a good option because it is energy efficient and long-lasting. When running electrical wiring in your garage, use the appropriate type of cable for the application. Non-metallic sheath cable, also known as Romex, is commonly used for residential wiring. However, in garages, it's often a good idea to use conduit to protect the wiring from physical damage. Conduit is a rigid or flexible tube that encloses and protects electrical wiring. There are several types of conduit available, including rigid metal conduit, RMC, intermediate metal conduit, IMC, electrical metallic tubing, EMD, and flexible metal conduit. Choose the type of conduit that is appropriate for your application. When installing electrical outlets in your garage, use the appropriate type of outlet for the application. Standard 15 amps and 20 amps outlets are commonly used for general purpose applications. However, for high power equipment such as your welder, you may need to install a dedicated 240 volts outlet. Ensure that the outlets are properly grounded and protected by GFCIs. When working with electrical wiring, always follow safe work practices. Firstly, always turn off the power to the circuit before working on it. Use a voltage tester to verify that the power is off. Secondly, wear appropriate personal protective equipment (PPE), such as safety glasses and gloves. Thirdly, never work on electrical wiring when you are wet or standing in water. Fourthly, follow the NEC guidelines for wiring and grounding. Fifthly, if you are not comfortable working with electrical wiring, hire a qualified electrician. Remember that electricity can be dangerous, and it's always better to be safe than sorry. By following these guidelines, you can ensure that your garage electrical system is safe, efficient, and adequate for your needs. Remember to consult with a qualified electrician and adhere to all applicable codes and regulations. Also, factor in the ambient temperature. If it is higher than 86 degrees Fahrenheit, adjustments to the ampacity may be needed as indicated in NEC Table 310.15. Also ensure you follow all grounding and bonding requirements as indicated by Article 250 in the NEC. The size of the grounding electrode conductor is indicated in NEC Table 250.66. Also, ensure that the newly installed service is properly sized overcurrent protection. This is to protect the conductors and equipment from overloads and short circuits. Overcurrent protection can be fuses or circuit breakers. These devices interrupt the current flow when it exceeds a predetermined value. The size and type of overcurrent protection is determined by the ampacity of the conductors and the requirements of the equipment being served. Ensure that the electrical panel is properly labeled and that all circuits are clearly identified. This will make it easier to troubleshoot problems and to turn off the power to specific circuits when necessary. The NEC requires that all electrical panels be labeled with the circuit number, the load served, and the amperage rating of the circuit breaker or fuse. Consider installing a surge protective device, SPD, to protect your electrical equipment from voltage surges. Voltage surges can be caused by lightning strikes, power outages, or other electrical disturbances. SPD divert the surge current to ground, protecting your equipment from damage. SPD can be installed at the service entrance, at the electrical panel, or at individual outlets. Consider the future needs of your garage. If you plan to add more equipment or expand your garage in the future, make sure that your electrical system is sized accordingly. It's generally better to have more capacity than you need than to be limited by your electrical system. Finally, remember to inspect your electrical system regularly and to address any problems promptly. Look for signs of damage, such as frayed wires, cracked outlets, or loose connections. If you find any problems, have them repaired by a qualified electrician. Regular maintenance can help prevent electrical fires and other hazards. Also, be sure to calculate the voltage drop of the circuit you are adding and that the maximum voltage drop does not exceed 3% for branch circuits and 5% for feeders. Voltage drop can cause equipment to malfunction or fail prematurely. The voltage drop is the decrease in voltage that occurs along a conductor due to its resistance. The amount of voltage drop depends on the length of the conductor, the current flowing through the conductor, and the resistance of the conductor. Be sure to check with the power company to see if they have any specific requirements. Ensure you follow the power company's standards. The power company may also have specific requirements for the type of meter base you install. You may need to get approval from the power company before beginning any work. It is always a good idea to get a permit from the local building department before beginning any electrical work. The building department will inspect the work to ensure that it meets all applicable codes and regulations. Also, remember to coordinate with other trades. If you are having other work done in your garage, such as plumbing or insulation, coordinate with the other trades to ensure that the electrical work is done properly. The location of the electrical panel and other electrical equipment should be coordinated with the other trades to avoid conflicts. Finally, be sure to keep records of all electrical work that is done in your garage. This will be helpful for future maintenance and repairs. Keep records of the permits, inspections, and any changes to the electrical system. This information should be kept in a safe place and readily accessible.